Exactly.
You are out of order.
Dr. Lotford, please help this member.
Advocate Kwebu, can you just check where is the chair gone to? And as me, we are here on the platform. Can you do that for us?
I'm trying to get hold of him.
Okay. Because I think the network took him out.
You see, I think the chair must have one consistent place where he must chair the meetings without interruptions.
He went for a caucus quickly, man. Give him a chance.
No, can you leave the ANC stories alone and have your own caucus?
No, the chair is haunted by the DA.
Yes, Gomet.
Okay, I've been in touch with the chair. He's busy trying to reconnect. He got lost. He got cut off, but he'll be joining us shortly.
He's a real man singing
Hello?
is nowhere
Hello?
land.
Chair, we
Yes,
can
on
hear
in this
you,
meeting
Chair.
also.
Okay, so I'm saying that Honorable Muraseta said that no one said we're going to adopt the report because we wanted to open the door for what Honorable Malema is saying, that let's engage with the report, look where the shortcomings are. And if the written submissions were not captured, then that will be an issue that we'll deal with. But on the program, members should know that I am accountable to the chair of chairs who represent the leadership of parliament. I don't dictate things, I make recommendations and informed by what you are saying, but those recommendations I make on your behalf are subject to approval by the House Chair and the leadership of Parliament. But I'm also accountable to all of you as a collective. So let's not waste any more time. Let's receive the report. But I want to also add that the written submissions on the text and so on will be relevant when we deal with the draft bill itself. But at the moment, we are not dealing with the draft bill. We are dealing with the report. Let's focus on the report and make the request that those submissions must be made available. And those who say other submissions were lost, they must tell us which are those submissions. I don't know, and I never asked for that information because I don't want to interfere with the administration and do anything that was not mandated by the committee. Thank you very much. Advocate Gwebu.
How do we know if the draft report accurately and fairly reflects the scope and context of the written submissions?
Chairperson, I've raised my hand.
Yes.
Is Mahlatsi?
Yes, Honorable Mahlatsi.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. It's unfortunate that I would speak after your ruling. You will bear with me. But I'll just want to make a request. As much as I agree with your ruling, I would also request that the administration accounts in terms of where are these written submissions, because we do not want people to come and make halabalus.
Honorable Mahlatsi, Honorable Mahlatsi,
Yes,
Honorable
Chair.
Mahlatsi, with respect, I think you are out of line there. Let them present. I think they've heard that there's an accusation. They will respond to it. So you don't need to preempt them. Let them respond. And when we deal with their presentation, your question will be relevant, but it's not relevant now. Thank you very much. Advocate Gwebu.
Chairperson?
Yeah.
Can I just respond to the issue of access to submissions?
Yes.
We requested IT to facilitate access to the Section 25 mailbox. Their initial response was that for those members who will be using their private email addresses for security reasons, it won't be able to give them access to the mailbox. And then on your screen now, I'm sharing my Parliament mailbox. And on the right, you will see that there's a box there that says Section 25. So for all members whose Parliament email addresses are active, they will see something like this in their mailboxes. So if they go to their mailboxes, they should be able to find a folder, Return Section 25. That is where all the return submissions will be found. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Advocate Ramano. Can we now go to the presentation of the report?
Chairperson, the report
Yes.
was presented last week on Friday by Dr. Kanyaza Twala. The purpose of today's meeting was to engage on the report.
Is that Advocate Gwebu? Hello?
Yes, Chair, it's me.
Yeah, that is very helpful. Thank you very much indeed. The report was presented and there was an assurance that everybody had the report. Now I open the floor for engagement with the report. Can we get the hands? And if I don't see your hand, please just talk to me. Or the host should help me to identify the hands.
Chair, there is a hand from Honorable Kaba.
Honorable Kaba, Honorable Kaba, welcome and proceed.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and greetings to all colleagues in the meeting. I want to confirm that indeed the report was presented to the committee at our last meeting.
Just raise your voice a bit, Honorable Kaba.
Thank you so much, Chair. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Can you hear me now? Yes, I want to confirm that indeed the meeting was present. The report was presented at our last meeting, and today we are meant to consider the report for purposes of adopting it. We may not do it today. We may do it at some other time, depending on issues that we pick up in the report itself. I just want to deal with those issues, colleagues, in the report.
Yes.
And you see, if Chair, you look at page 6 of the report, and page 6 is meant to be the conclusion of chapter 1. All right. I just want to read the conclusion of chapter 1. It's on page 6. It says, the report thus presents all information on the public participation activities undertaken by the committee and consequently the views of the public on the bill. The report is intended to empower members of the committee with public views on the bill and to utilize its content when deliberating on the clauses of the bill. So that is the conclusion found on page 6 under chapter 1. And then if you go to page 18 is the conclusion of chapter 2. Page 18 is the conclusion of chapter 2 and the last clause of the conclusion. Last clause of the conclusion, page 18, 18. Yes, and the last clause there, it says, the report therefore fairly presents the views of submitters who participated in enriching the legislative process with regards to the Constitution 18th Amendment amendment bill. And the last clause, last clause is on the last page. I think it's page 92, if I'm not mistaken. I'm going to read that. It says, this report on public participation adequately captures the views of the public. It's just the very last page, okay? And essentially, yeah, this is the clause I was reading. Essentially, the report it must be about the views of the public. And clinically, as they appear, as we listened when the people were conducting oral presentations, we're taking oral submissions, and of course, the views arising from the written submissions. But that is not all what the only thing that is in the report. What is in the report, in my view, which should not be in the report, are the interpretations of the author. I don't know who the author is of the meeting, but the interpretations, and depending on where you sit, chairperson, you may agree with the interpretations or disagree with the interpretations. In other words, the interpretations are likely to divide the meeting unnecessarily, and whereas if we're dealing with the public views of the public, we would note them as public views, what you call as views of the public arising from the oral submissions or written submissions, but not the interpretations, because even the interpretations depends on the orientation of the person who advanced the interpretations in the report. And then the second aspect that I consider concerning in the report is the legal analysis. We are not at the stage where we should be taking the legal analysis of the views of the public, and that should be in a separate report after we have looked at the views of the public. In other words, I may agree with some of the interpretations, but does not necessarily mean that other parties, other people, including people within my own caucus, agree with the interpretations that the author holds on some of the issues that the public presented. That's one. And two, the legal analysis. A legal analysis, I don't think it should be in a report that is meant to be adopted. Legal analysis, we get legal opinions every day in our operations, in our committees, and wherever we are, but they are meant to guide the committee. But if it is advice, like all legal opinions are, it's up to the committee to agree with advice or disagree with the advice, or pick and choose whatever they agree with from the advice. But it would be irresponsible for any committee, when it has called for advice, not to apply advice, not to apply its mind on such, and really look at it the way it is presented. But it's never for adoption. But if you incorporate the legal analysis into the report, you are essentially saying that the committee adopted the opinion as presented by the legal person. I don't know who this person who gave us the legal analysis and in the report, whether he or she is competent to give us a legal opinion. I don't know who actually asked for legal opinion. That today we now have it in the report, and we're expected to adopt it because it will be part of the report. And then again, the legal analysis, depending on where you sit, may actually divide the House. And yet, if we look clinically at the submissions, and we'll simply just note them as submissions that are meant to enrich the discussions at the portfolio committee, at the committee level. I just want to cite a few examples of what I am talking about in the report. If you go to page 16, page 15 of the report, page 15 of the report, and number one, it deals with emerging themes from written submissions. Besides the point that we have not had access to the written submissions, we don't know what those emerging themes are. But to me, that is an analysis that were being given by the author and of the report. And most disturbing in the themes that are mentioned is the theme on page 15 of the document is 4.6, contravention of the Constitution and international law. It starts to talk about what these, it talks about the sections, the provisions, and the instruments that these submissions are actually either breaking or strengthening. It talks about section 39, 1B of the Constitution. And it talks about the resolution on permanent sovereignty over natural resources, and that's on page 15 of the report. There you are, and specifically, and on the report, it says, in any case, I'm talking about the resolution on permanent sovereignty. It says, in such cases, just in the middle of that paragraph, the first paragraph, the one that you're on, just the top paragraph, just go down, there you are. This paragraph on the resolution and permanent sovereignty over natural resources. It says, and in such cases, the owner shall be paid appropriate compensation in accordance with the law, in accordance with the rules in force in the state taking such measures in the exercise of its sovereignty and in accordance with international law. In any case, where the question of compensation gives rise to a controversy and give rise to a controversy, the national jurisdiction of the state taking such measures shall be exhausted, and so on and so on. Again, in my view, then it goes on to the next paragraph, Article 2.2c. That's the chapter on economic rights. And then it goes on and until the section 2 of the Constitution, where it says, section 2, just go down to the next page. It says, thus, the context of section 25 of the Constitution sets out the circumstances to be considered when determining how much compensation will be paid when land is appropriated. The amendment bypasses these factors. Now it starts to give opinion on the actual amendments that are on the table. The amendment bypasses these factors and refers to national legislation to determine when no compensation will be payable. Instead of the Constitution reigning supreme, it is made subservient to national legislation. That is an example of how far the legal opinion has gone. Let's look at section 36, 1 and 2, the paragraph following. And it says on the paragraph, the first, second, third paragraph, it says the amendment is a limitation of the existing right to receive compensation for land that has been appropriated. Furthermore, the authors of the Bill of Rights Handbook states that the Section 25 requires compensation for an expropriation to be fair and equitable in amount, timing, and manner of payment. Compensation not meeting this requirement will be unfair and inequitable. Again, is a legal opinion of the person presenting this. And then he goes on to say that therefore the amendment is in breach of section 36 of the Constitution. Remember, we are called upon to adopt this report, and in this report we have such strong assertions that have not been debated and in the meeting. Then goes to 4.7, unintended, just go down, unintended consequences of the bill. The amendment to Section 25 of the Constitution, and they will give additional powers to the state, The bill gives, it says the bill gives additional powers to the state to expropriate land without compensation. And then the next paragraph, it says the state must be limited so that it does not abuse this power. At the center of democracy is the balancing the rights of the majority with the protection for the minority. Again, these are the views of the public. And then it says the bill in its current form is intended to focus on land. And however, Section 25 of the Constitution is about property, which includes movable objects, etc., etc. And then it goes on down to just go down a bit, to scroll down a bit before tempering, just scroll down. There you are, there you are. It says that paragraph, the last paragraph before tempering, it says expropriation of land without compensation will lower the value of farmland. Thus, banks will not be in a position to borrow money to those who want to develop the land as a direct result of expropriation. Colleagues, I'm going to skip all other sections and then go to chapter 4 of the bill, because there are many sections that clauses that stand in similar situated position. Clause 4, I think it's page 78 of the document. Chapter 4, sorry. Chapter 3, I have no problem with chapter 3 because it states what we found in what people were actually saying, whether we're in Limpopo, Western Cape, Northern Cape, and wherever. There's no issue with that. It states that as a fact. Then you go to 78, we're almost there. Chapter 4. There, chapter 4. Okay, that's paragraph. That it says discussion of key insights from public participation. And whose discussions are these? Who are involved in this discussion? Again, in my view, it's now would get imports from the views of people who were actually drafting the document. And I'm therefore saying, you go through the document and then you get to see the views, largely interpretation that the what you call the presenter is actually advancing. So, but if you go to the last clause, as I reported earlier, where it says the report adequately captures the views of the public. Yes, insofar as the views of the public, but the report has other things in it that if we adopt them as our report, we are actually locking ourselves to those views, to the legal interpretation and to the interpretation. Colleagues, that's my view, which makes me say that the report needs cleaning up, remove anything that is not public views. If its legal opinion is meant to assist the committee, it's got to be in a separate document so that we know it's a document that is meant to advise us as we go about our mission. Thank you so much, colleagues.
Chairperson, there is a hand from Honorable Breitenbach and Honorable Committee.
And Honorable Mahlatsi.
I think we may have lost the chair again.
I think the chairperson's microphone is muted. Can he unmute himself?
Oh, okay. So, yeah, thank you. Honorable Breitenbach.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I've listened carefully to submissions by the previous honourable speaker, and some of his points I must agree with. The report states clearly that it contains a correct reflection of the views of the public submissions. Well, I must submit, Mr. Chair, to all the members and urge them to consider this very carefully. We have been sent here to Parliament to do a job, and our job is to represent the citizens of this country. We've been placed on this committee to do a job, and our job is partially to listen to the views of the public of this country and consider them very, very carefully before we take any action, particularly action of the kind that we propose to take here. So again, I must urge you, Mr. Chair, members must have physical access to the written submissions and the public participation process. It is not good enough for members of Parliament to read a report and then agree or not agree with it on the basis of the statement that it adequately reflects the views of the public. It is our job to make sure that we know what the views of the public are, and then to make sure that the report reflects those views. We cannot, with the best will in the world, and I'm not suggesting that anybody would have written anything in there that is not correct, but we cannot, on an issue as important as this, or on any issue in Parliament, take the word of the administration and say they have reflected the views of the public. It is our job to ascertain what the views of the public are. Not only the oral submissions in the roadshows, but also the written submissions for those who couldn't get there, and there are many. And again, Mr. Chair, I reiterate, I want access to the written submissions. I want to physically engage with them. I want to assure myself of what is contained in them before I can do anything with this report. Thank you.
Honorable Breitenbach, I have already made a ruling that all honorable members are entitled to access. So that you are covered there. Thank you very much. And Honorable Gumede. Honorable Gumede.
Yes, I'm with you, Chair.
Yeah, proceed.
Chair, I'm a bit in a little bit a confused state, but I'll try and sober myself be in a position to contribute.
Raise your voice.
Yes, Chair, I have raised my voice. I'm trying to raise it. Chair, what I'm saying,
No, that's fine.
I intended to raise other issues. the very glamorous item that I wanted to raise, as well as Honorable Kaba was reading his comments, I've begun to realize that even the heading for this report is incorrect, because, Chair, it reads, Report on Written Submissions on the Constitution 8th Amendment Bill. This report contains both the oral and the written submission. So it means then we will have to change that. I had two other points that I wanted to raise, but I won't raise them now because we still have to debate what Honorable Kaba has raised. But I must say, I fully support what he is raising. We are not here to consider and accept the views. It could be for the drafters, or it could be a lawyer or any other person. All what we are tasked to do is to consider the submissions, whether oral or written, by members of the community. The other point, Chair, I wanted to raise, this is I've picked up from what Honorable Kaba was saying, is the consistency as well. with the oral submissions, we have the themes that are rising, but under the oral submissions, because it is with the written, the oral submissions, we don't have themes. One would have expected that if there are no themes under oral submissions, at least the drafter or the author could have indicated that under this section, we could not find, according to Honorable Kaba, that was under chapter 3, which he said he has no problem with. Then it should have been indicated somewhere at the end that there are no emerging themes under this section. So I'm saying that kind of inconsistency, it raises quite a lot from us as a committee, and we are very vulnerable. We cannot at this stage view this report as an adequate transcription of what the community said. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Kaba and Honorable Masati.
Thank you very much, Chair. Let me also welcome the inputs made by latter speakers. However, I would want to align myself with what Honorable Kaba has indicated. First and foremost, Chair, having read the report itself, one can actually, to a large extent, agree with the contents of the report in as far as public participation is concerned, especially when it comes to public hearings, because some of us have been part of these public hearings from day one up until the very last public hearing. However, like other honorable members have indicated, we might not necessarily be informed in terms of the written submissions because we have not seen them. But however, we want to believe and trust that the administration has done extremely well in terms of consolidating these particular reports. But when it comes to the report itself, Chair, I think it will be very unfair from the administration itself to concord interpretations informed by their own interpretation, not by the committee itself. Number of legal opinions that have been put on this report were not necessarily requested, but I want to believe that the administration wanted to be proactive in terms of assisting us. But I strongly believe that those public opinions, legal opinions, some of them, which I was trying to open the report now, were not necessarily relating to even the clauses themselves, but they were relating to other issues which were raised during public hearings, which have no bearing in as far as the 9 clauses that are on Section 25 itself. So I'm of a view that these legal opinions, Honorable Chair, thank you very much. These legal opinions, including these interpretations, must be removed from the report. Instead, there could be an external, an additional report to a subsection that is supporting the report, but not to exactly be part of the report, because we are not sure what informs these particular interpretations. Because like Honorable Kaba has indicated, interpretation is subjected to the knowledge of the author, or the school or the ideological context of the particular author. So we might not want to get into that particular debate at this point in time, but at least we must be assured that this particular interpretation and the legal opinions are removed from the report, because they are not necessarily reflecting the opinions of the people on the ground who were making this particular submission. Lastly, Chair, I want to indicate that I'm happy that Honorable Advocate Bonani was able to respond to the issues of the written submissions, and I hope it will not come again. Honorable members must just go to the emails as indicated, so that in the next week, when we move towards adoption of this report, we do not have to deal with documents that have not arrived. Thank you very much, Chair.
Chairperson, can you?
Yeah,
can
Honorable Breitenbach, do you want to come back again? Hello?
I think it's an old hand, Chair.
Okay, if it's old, then I don't see another hand. Does it mean that honorable members have been covered, all of them? If there are no other hands, my reading of the situation is that the report has interpretations and legal analysis which don't belong to the report. Because if we leave the interpretations and the analysis and we adopt the report, we may be out of order in terms of the process we are involved in. So I want to agree with Honorable Kawa, Honorable Mahlatse, Honorable Gumede, that we cannot have a report as is currently structured. And the Honorable Kawa was even forthright to say it needs to be cleaned up. And if it needs to be cleaned up, it means that, as Honorable Russell has said, it can be up for adoption now. Secondly, members have strongly raised the need for access to the submissions. And I think members are right in that regard. So which means we are faced with two situations. One, that the report must be cleaned up in line with what Honorable Kawa said, and he has been supported by other speakers. And secondly, that before we meet again, members must have had the written submissions so that they are able, as Honorable Breitenbach correctly said, do the work themselves and not source out that responsibility. Now, if that is the case, don't we agree that we can take the matters further for today? We need to do the two things, cleaning up the report and giving access to the written submissions, and then convene again next week. Any contrary view to that? Summary. Honorable members, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Chair. May I say
Yes,
that I
Okay, no,
support-
fine. I see other hands. Honorable Tuli, Dr. Tuli, and Honorable Nogu, Honorable Malema, in that order. Let's hear Tuli, Dr. Tuli.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Chairperson. Maybe the members can discuss, and then I can ask for guidance later on, Chair.
No, that's very fair of you. Honorable Nogu.
Chair, thanks very much. I think, Chair, it is very important that I reiterate what my colleagues said. This should not be a rush process. This is supreme law that we are dealing with at the moment. 2,000 reports that we are going to read, written submission. Do you think that is realistic that by next week, Friday, each of us as members of the parliament who are tasked to ensure that we do the right things would have read the 2,000 submission and obviously listen to the oral submissions as well? I think that's the question that I have, Chair. I think it is very important that we cannot assume. I hear members, thinking that, the guys from the support staff, report should be accurate. We cannot assume. We got to do this work and interrogate each and every report that is before us, and ensure that when we make inputs into this legislation, we make factual inputs. The report, the way it's written, is obviously captured, call it a particular trend or general themes, that were observed during the public hearing. So we got to get deeper into that. There might be, and I know I'm repeating this, there might be some that have provided a written submission who would want to come to the committee and to present an oral submission. What do we do with it? At the end of the day, if they take us to court, it is this members of the parliament that has failed the South Africans. So we got to be careful, Chair, not to really rush this. We have to just make sure that, we tick all the boxes that ensures that legally we are compliant, not just generally, appeasing the process, that we tick and we report to the chair of chairs that we had a meeting. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Noku. Honorable Lesoma, and then followed by Honorable Malema.
Okay. No, Chair, for me, I was going to say I 100% agree with your summary. That's one. And two, Chair, it could be a right thing that probably Honorable Baba, because it was very clear to assist the administration if he had anything in writing, or just to jot it down and send it through so that it can be incorporated when we come back. Then those issues and suggestions made by Honorable Klapa, supported by Honorable Gumede, but also with the change of the heading, which I fully support, then we can look at it next week. The rest of it would not necessarily be tempted to respond to other colleagues because they will always raise these issues until the end of the year. But we will complete, and we will also make sure that all of us collectively will finish this process as expected. Thank you very much, Chair.
Honorable Lesoma, I think you are perfectly right that Honorable Kawa has made that oral submission, which others may, for one reason or another, not captured. So we will request him to put that in writing and incorporate that as part of the minutes of this meeting. Honorable Malema, and then also the question of the heading, I agree with you. Honorable Malema. Honorable Malema.
Okay.
Honorable Malema, yes, I can hear you.
Yes, no, I think I agree with the spirit.
Okay. Honorable members, I also want to reiterate that there is a process, and the process is that we take oral submissions, we take written submissions, and we hold public hearings. And then the second stage is that the administration compiles a report for consideration by ourselves, and that has been done. But members are entitled to have access to information. But that access should not mean that we are going to extend the time, because it could be that those written submissions are 200,000. Are we saying that we are going to allow 6 months for members to go through the 4,000 submissions? So that would be, with respect, an unreasonable demand, and actually it could boil down to an attempt to sabotage the process. So I want to say that let's accept that a report has been compiled, is before us, and that access would be given to members, but we cannot not hold a meeting by Friday next week so that the process continues. Because some written submissions relate to the substance of the draft bill. So even after next Friday, people can still continue reading those submissions to prepare for the discussion on the bill. So no one will be prejudiced by a meeting next week. So the meeting next week is proceeding so that we complete our task on time. And having said that, I think this meeting, with your permission, should come to an end, and the committee secretaries will inform us of the times and the agenda for the next meeting. And thank you very much for your very positive and constructive contributions. Honorable Suma, who wants to speak?
Chair, you are going to offer Dr. Twalo an opportunity to say something.
Thank you for your vigilance, Advocate Gwebu. Dr. Tuli.
Thank you, Chairperson, for the opportunity, and thanks to members as well for their inputs on the report itself. Chairperson, the authors of the report would probably want guidance as to how we then go about doing what members are asking for, because the report on the written submissions, what you see in the report are extracts from the submissions themselves, and they may, some of them may look like it's a legal analysis because the document themselves, some of them are written by lawyers. That is why some of the things are coming out as if it's a legal analysis by us, but that is not actually what took place. What we did, we read the submissions and we took extracts from the submissions as they are, and we put them in the report, Chairperson. So the guidance will be around now, how do we state the information that is in the written submissions in a manner that will not look as if it's a legal analysis. But what is in the report are actually extracts from the written submissions, and we've put them in the report. And we used the subheadings that came out of the submissions as well to actually display what members of the public were saying as far as the written submissions are concerned. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Dr. Tuli. I think what I see the hand of Honorable Mbambama. Honorable Mbambama.
Thank you, Chair. Just to comment on what Dr. Tuli has said, I think she said something about some of the comments from lawyers in the submissions were taken verbatim into the report. So what I would suggest she do in that case is to actually source it and give us the source so that it will be easy for us to see where there is another person's opinion or whether it's an opinion of an attorney who has made a submission. So I think sourcing will assist. Thank you.
Thank
or
you
referencing,
very much.
I should say. Referencing.
Yeah, referencing, yeah. Honorable members, let's do the following. We have two committee secretaries who are lawyers, Honorable Advocate Ramano and Advocate Gwebu. I think they should work with yourself, Doctor, and the authors that I don't know to clean up, to borrow the words of Honorable Kaba, to clean up the report. And secondly, Honorable Suma made a proposal which I agreed with, that Honorable Gaba should capture his input in writing and submit it to the committee secretaries, because that input will assist Honorable Gwebu, Ramano, and Dr. Tuli in cleaning up the report. So I think let's proceed along those lines, and we will have a meeting next week. And I just want to place it on record that next week, even if we have to debate for 12 hours, we will have to adopt the report, because otherwise any further delay is going to delay our consideration of the draft amendment bill, and therefore fail us in discharging the responsibility that we have been given to amend the Constitution as directed by Parliament. So I want to request those who get access to the submissions, please work 24 hours a day, so that next Friday we do the necessary. And I can assure you that we are not rushing anything. Everything is proceeding according to plan agreed with the chair of chairs and the leadership of Parliament, taking into account other responsibilities of the honorable members represented in this committee. And I thank you very much. And I think we should close the meeting at that point.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, colleagues. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Amanda akho nathi sonke.
Bye bye, Mulubi.
Abuze Mulozwi.
Pilot.
Sure, Raman.
Yeah, okay, yeah. No, I was going to ask the support staff to remain behind so that we can just focus on a few issues.
Navala manje iprogram angisayipresentanga.
Bonan, should we not maybe set up another meeting or something instead of using this platform?
Oh, are you going to send us the link now, Palet?
I will try, but my gadget may not allow me at the moment. I don't know if Bonani will be able to do that.